Back up once more.
Oh.
All right, not bad for the whole part.
There you
On that side.
Oh, mhm.
Well, I guess you got to just right to the office here.
It's like in 6 o'clock, or is it? What are you doing?
I like it a lot better this week since I'm here.
Well, Councilmember Ballard, it's 6 o'clock and we are live on YouTube and on Teams.
Last month, I was riding my bicycle across Kansas, and I did it 553 miles in 8 days, and it was hard, but I did it. So I apologize for my absence. We will call this meeting to order. Is there anyone that would like to make the approval for tonight's agenda?
You have a question about, sorry. Last month's meeting, where you got the, plan for Wichita or whatever, and you got us to revisit that?
Is that all we do?
Yeah, we put that off for the meeting.
Probably.
They did not reach out. I can always reach back out to them and see if they're going to come back and present. If not, I can always send you guys the PowerPoint and the presentation.
You need to answer to you, you can say.
Okay, well, that one's up.
Okay.
That'll be it.
I will do that. For your agenda,
All move to approve it, but we're.
So,
all in favor? Staff reports, the Wichita Police Department.
guess we're going with these to COVID.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Officer Grenley with Wichita Police Department. I'm over from the north side, so at 48 and 49. Basically 13th Street all the way to Valley Center from the river. I also missed last month. I was out running the law enforcement torch run for the Special Olympics. I did not run anywhere near as many miles as Councilmember Ballard.
But did you finish?
I finished and we completed it. It was an amazing experience.
I think some people don't realize that started.
Yes, in 1981, it started with the Wichita Police Department with Chief Lemunion. We raised $300 that first year, and as of January of 25, worldwide, it was $1.1 billion have been raised for the Special Olympics. So it's this small little thing that the Wichita Police started here in Wichita, and it's grown all over the world. It's pretty amazing. I did look at our crime stats. It looks like we do have a couple of our robberies have been going up. That's trending a little high this month. And then most everything else is stay about the same. We did have about a 50% increase in auto thefts. But we on a 300% increase in arrests off of those autos. So that was a good thing. The only other thing kind of going on in the community is next week on Thursday is the Evergreen Rec Center's summer camp. They are going to have their final meet. Customarily, the community policing up north will go out and cook dinner for them. And we have a good time hanging out with the kids for that. This year it's going to be over at, instead of at Evergreen, they're going to move it over to Carl Brewer. Or I don't know if it's for that event or if they did that for the whole summer. So with that, Carl Brewer also is Second Chance Thursday this Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be from 9 to 5. So if you know anybody who has a suspended license, revoked license, they have traffic warrants, stuff like that, we can take care of that stuff and make it so it's payable here, so they don't have the warrants. So that'll be from Thursday at Carl Brewer Building from 9 to 5.
Any questions from you guys? Try to check.
Will you say what your boundaries are one more time? 13th and Valley, and then what's it?
Essentially 13th to Valley Center
Mhm.
and from 135 to McLean.
I did have a question. You said that arrests for car thefts are up 300%. What has been what's changed that there's that increase in arrests?
I do know like our crime reduction team has caught quite a few of those. They do a lot with the with like our shoplifts and stolen property and stuff like that. And so we do get a list of stolen cars that get sent out to us every morning.
Okay.
It could be that with the use of flock, or with seeing, finding known shoplifters and known autos or car type use. That officers are going to look for those people as well. So that it may have been any of those. I don't have the exact, which people were arrested and whatnot, so.
And following up on that, is it unlocked vehicles that you see being the main cause of?
That's the one, and right now I would say with like having the air conditioner running,
Okay, cool.
people run inside real fast, leave the air conditioner running because it's hot out. And then your car.
Any more questions for officers?
I did have one other thing. So I don't know if you guys know that you have access to the community crime maps, but literally it has all the information that you guys want on there. For example, there was a crime that occurred here on 7/12 of aggravated assault about a block away. Does the case number and all the information that's on there. So that'll give you all the information you want to know what's around your house or what went on in the neighborhood last night. It gives you everything down to the case number.
And that's available on WPD site?
Yes, if you go to communitycrimemap.com and log in, it'll get you all the way in there. You can see everything that goes on all around you. And that's one of the questions that always happens. It's like, hey, what happened last Thursday over off of this street? But this actually tells you that you can set your parameters to say like for a month, what's happening over here. It'll show you all the crimes, like all up to date. So.
Because it updates as you all put them in the system, right?
mhm.
Awesome.
So if anybody wants to know anything, you can do it yourself and actually look it up and see it. If you have rental houses, you can see all the crimes going on in the house in case there was some crime going on. Or if they're having a loud party and there was an arrest, all the information's on there for you.
Communitycrimemap.com?
Yes.
Questions for you, Councilwoman Ballard. What is the timeline for approval of the COPS grant? I know there's conversation that came out of last week's the mayor's meetings downtown South Broadway folks. They want to hire 50 additional police officers. Is that for the creation of?
It's on the agenda tomorrow.
On the agenda tomorrow, and so that's for the approval of it. And of the, like,
It's to basically ask if they can apply for it. And then if they win the grant, then it comes back to the council to ask if they can accept.
Is there, I guess maybe this will be comes out in March, but I think the question that's on my mind was, this seems like a very reactionary decision, out of the appeals of a couple of folks making investments in the downtown community. Was there any sort of strategy about reorganizing the existing bureaus to create a fifth bureau, or what options were explored before they said, okay, we need $25 million that the city's on the hook for 3 years after the spring factor expires, when we're already in a pretty tight budget situation?
It's potentially $6.5 million after the fourth year to absorb the up to 50 officers. And so it's, I could be getting a little bit of this wrong, but I just had a meeting about this, so hopefully my memory's good. It's 36 months spread over a 60-month period, so they could stagger the hiring. I think there's obviously a lot more details than that, but all of this will be presented tomorrow. I would encourage you to watch, if you're available, and ask all of the questions. So basically tomorrow, it's just to basically ask if they can apply for the grant. It's very similar to the safer grant that the firefighters did.
Yeah.
But yes, if you stagger it over the 60 months, the 36 months of the police officer position, then it wouldn't be 6.5 the fourth year. It would stagger that, so it would potentially be less. And that's if they do the whole thing. So lots of different moving parts, but just an option to consider. I would say this was a conversation, the Central Bureau has been a conversation, I think, since Chief Ramsey was there. So I don't think it's a new idea to potentially want to have some type of Central Bureau.
Yeah.
And I also know that Reed's also a lot of resources, like on the weekends when South Bureau is, well, you guys can speak to this better than I can. When there's something going on downtown, it pulls a lot of the resources. So if there's anything else going on in the city, that's where the calls wait.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah, correct.
So,
And we get called, like if something really bad happens, they'll call all of us to go and assist to try and relieve the officers so that they can be freed up to go make calls.
so. If you guys have any questions, so you can email them to me. I'm happy to ask them from the bench. I think it's important that we ask all of the questions, but literally tomorrow is just to ask if they can apply, and I'm sure it's a very competitive grant, but so we're good to do it. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, I think you lost my rules. Come on. Sorry, I knew you were here, but.
And if you don't want me to,
Speaking.
You don't want me to, I think.
Yes, I do.
All right. How's it going, gang? Awesome. Lieutenant Man, Wichita Fire Department, Community Risk Reduction Division. So to be clear, I don't work in a firehouse anymore. I work in City Hall. I actually kind of went over this earlier today, instead of like how I did it last month, where I didn't think about doing that. And some interesting stuff, but I think I'd like to start out with asking, what kind of information do you all want to hear month to month? Is the stuff that you get here pretty good? Do you make heads or tails of all the numbers? Is all that stuff useful?
I think it's interesting, especially that it's district specific, so.
Okay, cool. I don't know how much of the stuff that was in here was district specific. I was looking at the numbers that FIU put out. I don't think I saw anything in the district. Council District 2, 4, 1, 1, 4, 2, 3, bunch of threes, bunch of ones. I didn't see anything from here. I actually kind of scoured all of our internal information, looking for district specific stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have our fireworks numbers back yet, so I can't tell you how many fires we had or where they were at individually. I did work the evening of the 4th. I was out on the fireworks patrol, so I got a little bit of firsthand experience. I was absolutely shocked at how little business we had this year on the 4th. So, having worked almost every 4th, for the last 10 years, it was a slow night. Yes, ma'am.
So what does that look like? You guys drive around looking for trouble, or like, how's that?
I generally try to avoid trouble. So the way that we did it this year, we had a bunch of heat maps with last year's data. So we looked at where the most activity was for fireworks complaints, fires, et cetera. The big heat map for the city divided the city up into districts based on how busy it was. So if it's not very busy, it's a big district. I was out around like 13th and Mays, kind of that area, at a pretty big area. It wasn't terribly busy the year before. Downtown, you know, all of the sections are real small. It isn't real busy. And yeah, we drove around. I think we were out for about 3 hours. I had a police officer with myself. Most of the crews, and I think there was about 20-ish crews. Most of the crews were a Wichita firefighter with a police officer. I think it's better if we use our vehicles instead of theirs. If we pull down a street, people see us, they don't tend to run as quickly as when they see PD. And really, we just want to have a conversation, right? Like, that's the goal. That's my goal. I know that 2 tickets were written. There may have been more, I know for a fact 2 were written.
Did you write?
I did not write.
What time of
I'm
night?
just kidding.
I think we started this year was shorter than most. I think we were out from 11 at night to 2 AM. So the rule was nothing after midnight. Obviously, that is what happened, but we drove around my area, and it's pretty tough. You see something launch over there, you kind of head that way. It's residential, it's tough to narrow it down. You find some people, you're like, hey, just to let you know, we're out this year reminding everyone that the rules this year mean we're done at midnight. People were generally pretty receptive to that. Many of them didn't understand that it was 1 AM. So I think a few beers had something to do with that, but yeah, I didn't have any trouble with anybody. I know that there was a few around the city that, you know, people didn't have the same approach that I had. So things worked out a little differently for them. I know that the mayor went out with one of our crews on the first night, and that crew did write a ticket that night. I believe it's $1,000 ticket right now. So I'm not gonna lie, you gotta be doing something pretty wrong for me to, you know, write down the everything. Sorry,
Or have the mayor in your car.
I think everybody knows that's not the world's best idea.
I just wanna understand, like, the citations, like certain fireworks they were shooting off, or was it time?
That's a great question. There were 2 options for sure. The bottle rockets and things of that nature that are illegal in the city. I don't believe that they wrote them for that. I think they merely wrote them for shooting them past midnight. One thing I wrote down that I thought was pretty interesting. We did find some illegal fireworks. So for the week prior to the 4th of July, everybody from my office spent most of our time out scouring all of the fireworks stands. And I did that almost exclusively in District 6. We were pretty lucky up here. Didn't find anything that they shouldn't have. You have 2 different kinds of illegal fireworks, right? You have professional grade fireworks that just get mixed in somehow. And we did find a bit of that with one of the vendors in particular. I think there's about 6 people that are selling, you know, wholesale firework companies that are selling, and then individuals just get everything from them. One of the newer companies, they've been in town for 3 years. We did find some professional grade stuff mixed in with theirs. There was some changes to how the UN designation goes for that, and it is a little confusing. So we're not really, you know, saying that anybody was doing anything with any ill intent. We think things just kind of got mixed in. So we segregated all that, got rid of it. And then we do occasionally find actual full-on illegal fireworks that are homemade. We didn't find any this year. They've been around in the past, so. Yes, ma'am.
Just out of curiosity, I'm big on fireworks and everything, and legal.
Uh-huh.
How do we know if they're not legal? Like, is there a?
Fantastic question.
Firework that says it's 12 feet high or something, 'cause I know it's a certain limit high, right?
They didn't plan to quite as much as the packing, the volume of packing material. So what you're looking for is 1.4 G in the little UN diamond on the side of the package. And that's part of the problem is historically, if we saw 1.4 G, good to go. If you saw 1.3, that was professional grade. Now there's this subcategory of 1.4 G Pro. So you can't just glance at everything and see it real fast. So this year we used a cool little tool. It's just a hazmat, like a website from the DOT. And I literally would walk around, anything that I saw, and this is how I tell people. If it looks ridiculous, if the packaging looks ridiculous, that's consumer grade stuff, right? But if it looks kind of like not too weird, then let's check it. And that's where we would run there's kind of like a UPC code, but there's an individual dot identifier on there. We run that through the system and it's fine. That's how we found a lot of the stuff, so.
I'm not gonna lie. We had a firework that we bought from the stand, like an M84 or something. I don't know what it was, but when you lit that bad boy up, we didn't know.
Yeah.
It shook the whole block,
Yeah.
the whole house and everything. Accident, sorry guys. Didn't know.
Lots of black. We,
But I didn't, you know what I mean? If I would have known.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully, now that we've noticed that this year, next year we can be a little bit more proactive in getting that information out to everyone ahead of time. So, like I said, I found in my neighborhood, the next day of walking the dog, right, we found some stuff that I just in somebody's trash. They're like, I think that's probably shouldn't have been there. And so I grabbed it the next morning and ran it, and it sure enough, should have been there. Wasn't their fault. It's not like they went out looking for it, I'm sure. It just got mixed in, so. Anyway, next year, we're gonna try to offer that education a little bit better. All right, a couple of things that were on there that was kind of cool. In your notable incidents, especially since everybody's, drilling out for the summer and everything. We had a pretty good fire, down south, like kind of south and west. Basically, the important part is the last sentence here on notable incidents, the first one. This fire highlights the importance of using extreme caution when utilizing outdoor recreational fire pits on wood decks. We make those, I know, right? It sounds insane, but people do it, right? So that's why we have us. And, yeah, we make a dozen of those fires every summer, people grilling on the back deck. And it's not any safer because you've got composite deck, right? It's just gonna, melt more instead of burn more, but it's still bad. So don't be grilling on your deck, right? Don't do it. We do have some new engines in town. Just today, I believe we put engine 16 on track. Engine 14 goes on track July 20th. Engine 17 goes on July 22nd. And truck 6 goes July 24th at Firehouse 8. None of those are in the district here, but, oh yeah, 8 is. 8 is in the district, and 8 will make the entirety of the district as a truck company.
And trucks, right? Is it just regular pumpers or just ladder trucks?
Ladder trucks, you can call it, yeah, it's if it has a big ladder on the top, that's a truck in Wichita. If it doesn't have a big ladder on top, then that's it. So trucks are, for going to the roof, for doing a lot of the grunt work around the exterior. Truck work is fun. I like my time on the truck. Pumping's all right too, but truck work's fun. You get to go to the roof and cut holes with chainsaws. It's pretty fun. Break a lot of doors. All right, some other stuff. Elena has a neighborhood meeting this evening. I saw, so someone from my office was requested to go to a Delano residents meeting or something like that. Do we
Yeah,
coordinate those ever?
Yes, it's a new, Delano neighborhood.
I don't understand, there is some drama with,
Yes.
okay, I understand that. I don't want to be involved in that, but I do want to make sure that, like, we're not doubling up.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully I'll have fireworks numbers next month. Also, chief's process. You do not have a new fire chief yet. Has anybody been tracking that at all?
No, when do we expect, I thought she wasn't, August, September, what are we looking at?
Should be an announcement the next day or two.
Okay,
Give us a sneak peek, okay, you've already got us intrigued.
that's more information than I happen to have right now. So, all right. And then we've been staying super busy this summer, not only with ops level stuff, but with lots of charity stuff. The diapers for dads, that's pretty huge. We do that every year. This one's the first time that it's been exclusively this diapers for dads drive, but we've done a lot of stuff with the bigger organization, Simply Hygiene. And we kind of like, do that thing where we compete with the cops and or, all that stuff. And then we go down there and we load up a bunch of boxes and stuff. We're doing more of that this year than ever before. So staying super busy. All right. Anybody have any questions? You have any questions all the time. Maybe. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Sorry I got you this second.
I figured if I'm gonna be here.
What's the hang?
You should.
He gets good to see, so that's why you're mistaking him for chilling.
Library reports.
It's the first time because I didn't last.
True.
Good evening, Sarah Gail with Wichita Public Library. Just a few announcements. So we are in the throes of our summer reading program, but there's still time to participate. So if you know someone in your family that wants to get some incentives for reading or just combat the summer slump, have them come by one of our service desks or our teen volunteer table. We can get them signed up. If you're old school, we've got the paper trackers. If you like to do digital, we can get you connected with the Beanstack app. It's a way to track your reading progress that way. And the program is going through the end of July. So you set your own reading goal, whatever that is for you or your family. We aren't interested in putting parameters on you. We just want you to set a goal, reach a goal, and get rewarded for that. So if you're looking for some programming, because we still have programs going on in the library, we've got a couple of programs this week. On Wednesday, Lena from Alfred is gonna bring her bag of tricks and do a teen literary family trees program. The summer reading theme this year is Under the Story, so we delved into paleontology or archaeology, but that also means local history. So exploring your own family history is one program we're offering. Karina, our senior library assistant, has been doing a monthly chess program. So they meet on the third Thursday of the month. So this Thursday from 6 to 7, there'll be an Everdream playing chess. It's all ages, so it's not just for teens. That just seems to be who's showing up. But if you guys like to play chess, you should go. It's a lot of fun. It's very low stakes. And then we're doing a family game program on the 20th. I believe that's a Monday, from 6 to 7. This is a partnership with Kansas State Extension. So come check that out. Because we are 150 years old, the library, we've been celebrating stuff all year long. So this summer, our friends in the library has been doing ice cream socials across the system. So there's still a few more branches where you can get free ice cream from Freddy's and hobnob with everybody who likes libraries. We've got one this Saturday at Rockwell, and these usually run from about 1 p.m. to 2:30. There'll be one at the Maya Angelou branch the following Saturday, the 25th, and then the final one will be at Westlake on August 8th. So all Saturday afternoons. And then the last announcement, we've got local author day. I don't know if you've all participated or gone to that, but every year we have a big local author event extravaganza. And this year we're going to have them back on Saturday, August 8th. They've structured it a little bit different this year. I think instead of having a panel discussion in the morning, they're extending more time for the authors. And if you were interested in being one of those authors, so sorry that deadline is passed. That was last Friday, but you're still welcome to attend. Again, it'll be August 8th, Saturday at the event. Any questions?
Not just like a bunch of different local authors.
Yeah, because it was so competitive this year, they had people apply and then they based accepting them on not only the genre that they wrote, but then also how well they're represented, what they have to bring. But it's basically a networking event for local authors. They have tables that they let the public come in and talk to them. I don't believe anyone's actually selling books, but you could check with the downtown library on that. But it is just to get exposure out there and then network. Okay. Any questions? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're at the public agenda portion of today's agenda. We didn't have any scheduled items. Is anybody here who wants to speak on a public agenda item that's not part of the agenda already? You can come up to the podium. You have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
North Elizabeth. What I'm talking about is like here recently, we've been having all these heavy rains and stuff. I'm going to use the Mount Carmel apartments there on Edwards as one of my prime examples of a flooded area. There's no storm structures in that area for about 16 blocks total. And it's right there on Edwards and Douglas. That's the next structure. The next structure is on West Street. So what I'm concerning is we need to do something better to help out our streets to where we can keep the water off the streets. Our canal needs to be re-established, redug out because we have grown in population wise. So when we get these rainwaters that we've been getting, the flat gates get sealed shut. So the water backwashes into the storm sewer and comes right back out of the street. So we need to do something or figure something out to prevent these water from coming out like that and keep the streets from being flooded. So we need to make like secondary ditches, reestablish the ditches that are not established. Try to get someone out there to pay attention to it. Anybody got any questions? I made that short and simple. I had a whole thing, but I was like,
What do you think to define the core problem area to me again, would you? Where is it?
I'm using Mount Carmel Apartments area over there on Douglas and Edwards.
Okay,
It's a siphon only right there. So you got a total of 16 blocks that have no storm structures whatsoever. So all that water just flows down to Douglas and it flows underneath the siphon to go underneath Douglas, then it comes back up and it flows straight down Edward Street. Then it flows down to Maple to go into a structure. That's why those areas flood a lot.
Well, what I can share with you is the Douglas project from Seneca to Meridian is a $5.6 million reconstruction of Douglas, which includes safety, drainage, aesthetics, new sidewalks, but it does say it replaces the aging undersized underground drainage system through the corridor.
Yeah, and we have other, I'm using the Edwards because that one is another area.
Thankfully, that's the key Seneca.
So what?
I said, thankfully, that's, no, it's not, it's a little further.
It's a little further, so I was using that as an example.
Yeah.
I know, I'm watching what they're doing, and I see that that will flow a whole lot better than all the siphons that they did have on Douglas Street.
Yeah, it does that on 13th Street. It kind of goes like this.
Yeah.
So we are trying to work on some of that stuff. A lot of it is aging. There's a lot of it that's in the capital improvement program, and that was a federal grant, so we're
And
slow
the
but
thing
surely
is,
process.
the canal, see if there's a way to like have it reroute it for if it gets overtaxed to where that water that's in there can blow off on a secondary blow by instead of coming out in the streets, is what I'm trying to say.
which canal are you talking about?
The I-135 canal. Chisholm Trail is what they call it now. But a lot of us older people know it as the I-135
Older
canal.
people, you see.
So what?
We have to get together.
Question?
You come to these meetings and speak about this a lot. Just for people that have not been there, do not know who you are, why is it so important? What is your job?
I used to work in storm structure in the storm, working on being able to maintain the storm water to keep it flowing. Most of it's just aging out and, you get 8-inch mains in older areas that you get this massive amount of volume of water. That 8-inch main ain't big enough to hold that water. So now that water's just coming out in the street. You're having people's basements flooding. And then when your basement floods too much, you get mold, mildew, and some people don't have money to fix that. Then now the house is boarded up and nobody lives there. So that's why it's
It's a
so.
combination of problems, since a lot of people don't clean out their gutters anymore, which then.
And when you get car wrecks that all the pieces don't get picked up, I pulled out a bumper, I pulled out a 2x4, I pulled out numerous things. I even pulled out car parts, brake pads and all that out of a storm structure. And I'm like, how did that get in there? So you gotta realize when you go and litter, when people litter, that stuff goes down in the storm drains. That's why it's really important to also have street maintenance, street sweepers get out there and clean up. And it's important for people to clean up your own trash when you mow your yard. Don't blow it out in the street. Clean it up.
So
And
your
then,
expertise is because of your storm, you were a storm drain
Yeah.
cleaner and you see what's going on. So that's why you want to come and just make everybody aware of the issue.
and then whenever you have apartments that get built, I got a suggestion, whenever a driveway gets taken out and it's no longer a driveway, is it possible to make something to where they can make there be a curb gutter and take out that concrete to make that be dirt, so that way when the water flows down, it can flow down the street properly instead of getting built up in a low spot over here. for when they build duplexes in a neighborhood and they do away with the driveway, have to put curb gutter where it's straight curb gutter and get rid of that dirt. That concrete is what I meant to say and make it dirt. Because I've seen that whenever water flows, whenever something obstructs it, it can't flow.
Right.
But what I'm mainly concerned about is we gotta prepare the city for the future of our kids to where they're not out there swimming in water when there's heavy rains.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who's here to speak on an off agenda item for tonight's meeting? No, with that, Councilmember Ballard, I'll turn it over to you for new business.
Thank you.
Senior Beats from the planning department. Additional use, PLN 2026-81 is a request for wrecking and salvage on property in zone GI general industrial. It would also require a waiver of our supplementary use regulations that would not allow such a use to abut an arterial in a freeway. The site is located on North Hydraulic and within 600 feet south of East 37th Street North. That is approximately 4 acres. Wrecking and salvage yards, as mentioned, do have supplementary use regulations within our zoning code, but they cannot abut an arterial street, expressway, or freeway, but they will not adversely affect the character of the neighborhood, and that they will be enclosed by a fence or wall. The site, Atkins has provided on-site plan, screening and landscaping on the property. There would be screening along I-135 in the form of a clear span structure, which is shown in the attachments to the staff reports. Other screening on the north, south, and east property lines would be an 8-foot tall opaque chain link fence with secured barbed wire. Staff recommend that the screening around the perimeter be constructed with or masonry and be at least 8 foot height. Landscape street guards would be required for both the I-135 frontage and the south hydraulic frontage. Applicants plan to utilize existing landscape screening along I-135. And if that is not adequate, it would be required to meet the standards of the Wichita Landscape Code. Parking lot screening would also be required if in addition to the existing parking lot were to occur. Parking is required for the Unified Zoning Code. The existing spaces may require an administrative adjustment or a variance depending on how many spaces are provided. The context of the area, the neighborhood here is generally industrial with some residential nearby. Property to the north is zone GI, general industrial, developed with office warehouse. Similarly to the east, across North Hydraulic, property zone GI, developed with an office warehouse combination. Same to the south, to the west is I-135. There are some residential uses north of East 37th Street North, and these are zone GI, general industrial, and are considered non-conforming. As far as this property, case history, the property was platted in 1974. There are no other zoning cases on the site. Public services, the site does have access to hydraulic, which is a 4-lane arterial without sidewalks. The site does have access to municipal water and sanitary sewer, and Wichita Transit serves the site with a stop 800 feet to the south. The conditional use is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, which identifies the area as appropriate for industrial uses. This is, of course, an industrial corridor, and the post conditions of approval requires screening landscape to be help mitigate use of the property from I-135 North Hydraulic. The zone change is in conformance with the purpose statement for the district, which states that areas to accommodate modern density manufacturing, industrial, commercial, and complementary land uses, of which a recommended salvage yard would be appropriate. Staff are recommending approval of the request as well as the waiver to the supplementary use regulations, subject to the conditions found in the staff report. At this time, staff have received 2 public comments. One of those is included in the staff report. One of them is a separate attachment. Both of those are in opposition to the request. However, this did go before the planning commission on July 9th and was approved with no public comment taken at that meeting. With that, I'll see if there are any questions.
There was protest or no?
There were 2 comments submitted by email in opposition, but no one came to the meeting.
So this is over there by the.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they have questions. I'll be first.
Any questions from the deck?
Yes, we have questions.
Okay.
So I've got a number of them, but I'll just take them one at a time, let everybody else scrape them too. I'm kind of curious about why we are, I don't want to say ignoring, but at least sidestepping one of the requirements that says we're not supposed to be adjacent to either an arterial or an interstate when it appears to be adjacent to both. What's the logic behind that?
To my knowledge, that it was felt that given the industrial nature of the area and the screening and landscaping that would go into the project, that staff were willing to waive the requirement, but I would refer to Philip. They have some additional comments.
One thing that we particularly looked at, if you go back to the zoning map, Phil Zingberg, for the record, the planning department, is that the area is kind of in the middle. Go back. Yep. Everything you see in the dark charcoal color is general industrial zoning. So those next to an arterial and a freeway, it is more or less in the middle of a contiguous general industrial area. Not having the uses in front of me, that is the most intensive zoning district in our zoning code, apart from the Air Force Base, which they are listed within one. They're in our zoning code, but we don't control them. So the other uses that would be allowed in general industrial by right, next to a freeway and a arterial, could be just as visually impactful, if not more, possibly, just what's allowed, pretty much everything is allowed in general industrial. To where when it came to recommending salvage versus other types of uses that could have outdoor storage and things that are just not scrap material, but other materials, in our opinion, was really what's the difference. This is recommending salvage material versus other types of outdoor storage and other highly intensive uses of the highest intensity zoning classification. That it's not at the edge of it, it's not necessarily into residential, like it is surrounded by general industrial uses. That you can have similarly intense uses, similarly intensive visual impacts to the freeway corridor and roller from hydraulic, that really recommending salvage would more or less be the same.
So in other words, item 1 on that list of 3 shouldn't even have been included in our information.
Well, it is a supplementary use regulation because wrecking and salvage is permitted by conditional use in other zoning classifications, to where it could be more applicable in those areas. So those supplementary use regulations are applied to wrecking and salvage, regardless of what zoning district it is in. This being a unique case to where this one's in the middle of a general industrial zoned area. We typically don't see the requests for wrecking and salvage in the general industrial. We're usually seeing them in like general commercial or limited industrial that are possibly more intermixed with lesser intensity uses, or mixed with other zoning that don't allow such intensity of uses, to where those supplementary use regulations apply more importantly, if that makes sense.
That was our understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else got questions?
Josh?
Mine might be the applicant, so I'm gonna hold it. Yeah, and we do have the applicant, yeah.
So I guess I'm a little concerned because I see a picture in here about a canopy for opaque screening, but I don't see a picture in here for the opaque screening that is being proposed. I don't see anything that says it's required.
So the supplementary use regulations require a fence to be enclosed, and then staff added a condition that we wanted to be water masonry versus chain link with slats. So that would be opaque. The supplementary use regulations say that the cracks in the openings cannot exceed 5% of the area, so that means it has to be 95% opaque. So there's your opaque screening. We prefer to be a wood or masonry fence versus chain link slats that typically more allowed when it comes to a screening fence. Has to be more of a customary building material. So that's where you get your opaque screening, it's 95% opaque for supplementary use regulations. When it comes to the canopy, things inside the canopy are typically being stored indoors. So the applicant proposed it as, oh, we're using this canopy as screening, but really they're storing those materials indoors. And the screening fence will be around the property to then screen the items that are being stored outside.
So it'll be a combination of this 8-foot opaque screen and the canopy?
Correct.
We're calling wood and masonry opaque.
The wood or masonry would have to still meet that less than 5%. They shouldn't space the wood far enough apart to see through it, like when they do like a typical privacy fence. That would be your definition there.
So I may have things out of order here, but one of my other concerns is environmental impacts with the wreckage and salvage yard. And one of the late received protests, I think there is I get on there as well. Do those happen at the time that there's some kind of building permit come in, or should it be, is it included as part of the zoning requirement?
It's not part of the zoning, typically with environmental things, there's likely requirements, which is good for the applicant on this, that they would not do adhere to KPHE standards for however they're storing and disposing of things.
For the change in drainage?
Correct. Yeah.
Any other questions from?
I have a question. On the landscape street yard, does that literally just mean yard? Or does it mean, like, what is that?
So the landscape street yard, for the definition of the Wichita Landscape Code, it's a certain amount of square footage that's based on a ratio of how big your property is. And with that, depending on how many square feet of landscape area you provide, landscape would provide one tree for 500 square feet of landscape area. So if your landscape area equation turns out to be 2,000 square feet of area, you'd have to provide 4 trees.
So they have to do that on hydraulic and on hydraulic.
There's actually a correction in there. I thought it got taken out. It does not have to be along the highway because the highway is elevated. It's for at grade expressways. There's I-135 up here, and the landscape at the bottom next to the highway, that it doesn't matter. So it would be along hydraulic. The elevated highway does not count because it's not at grade. Sorry, Bill, you
Oh, go ahead, I was gonna ask. I was gonna question about how we proceed.
I decided my questions for both of you. So going back to the original question about removing the requirement of abutting NR2 to the street, is there something that's uniquely polluting, particular, dangerous as to why that requirement was there in the first place for salvage?
My understanding is built in the physical aspect. I mean, working in salvage means also reducing cars.
Yeah.
And I'm behind the glass and things like that. So my understanding of why that's written in there is to avoid those views from highly traveled areas. Sure.
There any, that, or agents would like to come up and answer some questions, then you'll go out to the public. Well, go on.
Good evening, I'm Jason Gish from DEC Engineering, representing the applicant here. So,
Why this location?
I believe it's for sale and they, you know, this is a good spot for them, I think, to do the activities that they propose.
So it's my, maybe not understanding everything correctly, but my assumption is that the applicant or the company that's in the umbrella has multiple locations that does this kind of service.
I understand that's correct.
Okay. Do you have any idea how large the land area is that they typically perform the service on?
I do not.
Okay, so we don't know whether this is normal or small or larger than they usually operate on?
Not exactly sure, Steve.
Any questions?
One of our test materials made note of the requirement for, something about a pond or some sort of drainage pool, or there not being a space for that. Can you maybe shed some light on that or add some color to that?
So from an engineering perspective, at the time that they was approved and they were able to move forward with plans for the site, they would have to meet all the codes and regulations. And so it'd be not only the building codes, but just all the engineering, stormwater, that would all have to go through the approval processes in order to comply with our rules here. So just like any property.
Sure. Sort of going off that, I mean, early in the process here, but where are the early thoughts on where that stormwater would be going? Its location?
I haven't studied that, but generally speaking, it's easiest to do where it's lowest. It's very flat out there, I think. So I presume it's going to have to be somewhere where the drains are naturally flow.
Does that mean towards the highway? Does that mean towards, say, the building, the property to the east?
I don't know. But that would be something that the engineering side would have to contemplate and address and make sure they meet the rules.
Sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Can you describe a little bit the type of recycling and salvageability going on here at this property?
I believe it's probably, perhaps it's specialized. I'm not 100% sure. I believe they serve the aerospace community. So there's, I mean,
Aluminum metal.
just metals.
Titanium.
Is there anyone else here that can speak to? Is there anybody else here that, applicant?
No.
Okay. Any other questions before we go out to?
Just one last.
Yes, sir.
That puts me a little more at ease than it's have a crusher in there. But I guess I'm still a little bit, the location's odd to me for this kind of service, to me. Do you have any idea how the applicant intends to transport these materials out? What's that process? Which are sorted, be rated, and where there's no rate line over there, is there?
No, I think, given the site's small, I'm winging, I have no idea. And they were here, they came into town for the planning commission. I'm sorry, they weren't able to stay for that meeting here, but I believe that, they're probably recycling or processing some specialized metals or materials. And that's probably why it's not a very large site. Speculating. So,
Do you happen to know, the proposed canopy, how the height of that? Thinking about it in comparison to the height of the elevated buildings.
let's see if I would.
See it.
There's some pictures provided in there, and I believe this is just a concept of what I think they're trying to replicate.
So the concept's on page 7, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, that appears to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 35, or 30, 35.
That would be where the existing building is on page 6.
They would put it to the north,
To the north, or is it the,
early where it's just open area.
The building will remain, the existing building. The existing building.
Yes, I'm not 100% sure of it. I believe you're intending, but I don't know that for a fact.
proposed material yard would be covered? Material yard, is that, am I understanding that right?
Right. My understanding is the building would be that canopy area that you can see, there to the west side.
And then concrete yard, basically, yeah.
So then that's just an area where they can, bring in materials and
Large enough for trucks to turn around, probably.
the operations. Yeah, I don't think they've, I don't know if they've developed anything yet. I mean, they're just working through the zoning process.
Any other questions before we go out to the public?
Just to share with you guys, having spent about 35 years in the aerospace industry, the materials that are going to be used or processed in this are exposed to coolants and lubricants that are carcinogens at base. And without special handling, this could be a real problem, regardless of where they're processed.
And I'll save some comment for when we bring it back.
Any other questions before we go out to the public? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public? If you'd like to, step up here and say your name for the record and 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Christopher Weston. I'm actually the, one of the business owners, that's actually directly to the north. Just directly, we're about 50 or 60 feet just directly to the north. I'm from Alpha Source Mending. We are a food, service business. And we're inspected by the FDA, we're inspected by the state for health safety. One of the things that greatly concerns me about having a scrapyard that nearby is we do a great amount of rodent pest control. And a scrapyard like that's being proposed is obviously going to be pest in, and even consider it carcinogens, but it's going to greatly impact our business. Now, one of the safeties that's always been there for us, this was formerly the Nabisco warehouse. And the Nabisco warehouse, it was a food storage facility. So it makes sense that those different, the codes that were there protecting it before were the safety that we operated in. Not ever thinking there'd be a metal processor right next door to us. For the city to just throw out the code is going to expose our business to, a lot of hardship. Not just with rodents, but if there's chemicals or other things that are in the air or water, it can have a huge impact. Nobody wants to eat around that. So, I don't know if you all have any questions for me. It's very difficult for me to stand up here and speak. But what I do want to convey is this is, they're throwing out, this is a variance to something that's been in place for many, many years as a protection to our business. We're employer of many people in the city. It's a service that's going to be impacted by this. I don't know if I can answer any questions.
Any questions?
Your business is on 37 is where you're located?
We are right there, this south part of the building. So we're 50 or 60 feet away.
How long have you been there?
8 or 9 years. Yeah. So we've been there a long time. We formerly were down on Douglas. And we've moved to this facility specifically because it wasn't in this Nabisco warehouse. So it seemed like an excellent place for us to do business. And now that's being jeopardized by a variance to the standards already in place.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Hi, my name is Jana Owen, and I'm a little late to the party. I did not know about this. Otherwise, I probably would have been at the other meeting as well. My husband and I own Midwest Dance Mechanics, which is at the corner of 37th and Hydraulic. So we actually, in addition to owning Midwest Dance Mechanics, we also own the buildings. And so just a couple of things. I am a better writer than I would take longer than 5 minutes if given. So, but just a couple of things that I thought about while people were talking is that if you don't go by this area in town, you might not be familiar with what, the lantern that's on the Coleman building. At Christmas time, I have rescued, I don't know how many geese from the ponds that are going across the street. Anyway, so it may be an industrial area, but it is a very nice industrial area, and I have hundreds of children that are there every single day. I think we have about 750 kids. And so with that, I feel like it's my job to make sure that it is a safe place for them to be, and we've always felt like it was. So We occupy the buildings located at 3805 North Hydraulic and 1710 East 37th Street North. And I am wanting to express my strong opposition to the proposed scrapyard on the vacant lot immediately south of our buildings. Our studio serves hundreds of children and families each week. Students regularly walk between our two buildings, eat lunch at our outdoor picnic tables, gather on the sidewalks while waiting for rides, and spend significant amounts of time before and after classes outside. The location of a scrapyard adjacent to our business is simply not compatible with our family-centered environment. Beyond the immediate safety and aesthetic concerns, I believe this proposal sends the wrong message for the future of our area. As a property owner who has invested heavily in this neighborhood and pays substantial property taxes, I want to see development that enhances our community, attracts additional businesses, and increases our property values, not a use that is likely to discourage future investment. Our family has committed significant resources to revitalizing this part of Hydraulic. We believe in the potential of this corridor and have worked hard to create a welcoming destination for families. A scrapyard directly adjacent to our business would negatively affect the appearance of the area, the experience of the families we serve, and the perception of this growing district. The neighborhood is also deeply personal to us. My husband and I both grew up in North Wichita. We swam at Evergreen Park as children, attended Air Park Elementary, and my husband now teaches at North High School. We have chosen to raise our own families here, build our business here, and invest in the future of this community. We care deeply about the direction this area is headed and want to see development that reflects its potential and serves the families who live and work here. I respectfully ask the Planning Commission to consider the long-term vision for this neighborhood and deny the request for a scrapyard at this location. I believe there are many other types of development that would be better serving surrounding businesses, residents, and the future of North Wichita. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. I have handouts. I only have 8 of them. So, we can share.
I printed one off.
Okay, okay. So. I'm gonna read this first and then I'll speak a little bit. My name is Rick Wesley. My business partner and I, Riz, we operate a business next to the site just to the north. We're in the same office as Christopher. And we understand the staff is recommending approval, including a waiver of the rule that a wrecking yard can't be built, can't abut an arterial, which is hydraulic, or a freeway. And we're asking this board not to support that waiver. The rule exists for a reason. Screening a use like this only works if there's enough distance and enough room to contain it. The site is 4 acres. The applicant's own numbers show they don't even have enough parking without a variance. There isn't room here to do this properly. Staff's own conditions require an 8-foot wood or masonry fence. The applicant's site plan proposes chain link with barbed wire instead. And I'll get to why that's important here. Let me give you these papers. These are, well, you'll see it, but these, I have pictures from the applicant's own photos from their website of their existing scrapyard. Where scrap is piled above the fence line, dust over the grinding operation. That's what conditions approval look like in practice rather than on paper. And that's what we're really concerned about. It's what is really going to happen. And one more thing that I wanted to state was that on the staff report, it says that there were no public comments that have been received, yet in the report itself, there was a public comment. So I don't think it's real thorough, with all due respect. And both neighbors are opposing it. Buckley Roofing is to the south, we're to the north. We both oppose this. So we're asking you to recommend against the waiver. And we're going to do, I thought I did a direct protest. Apparently I haven't, so I'm planning on doing that. Our neighbor to the north of us, 37 Holdings, they're planning on protesting. They haven't done yet. And I was speaking with Buckley, and they're also planning on protesting. Now I'll pass these out. So. I took a picture. Right, sorry, I took a screenshot. Okay. So I took screenshots off of Google, and there were a couple of things that concerned me. In the report here that they submitted, if you look, it looks like a very large building. But if you look at this is what their actual scrapyard looks like. This is page 3. This is an overhead view. That big building, if you look at it, it's those two little white things right there. That's what they're actually proposing. And that actually matches the MKBC drawing for the building. It's a very small area.
Sorry, but you do understand that it's not this kind of salvage that they're gonna be working with.
Well, they didn't say that in their,
It doesn't specify that it's aerospace metals.
correct.
That'll be a totally different operation.
Well, they didn't specify what it was.
Okay.
So it could, what I'm saying is it could be used for that.
Yeah, I agree.
And they have experience in that, so it'll be likely if even if it started out as aerospace, it could switch. So. I said I didn't need to print these out, but I can do that anyway. This shows where that area is. It's already on there of where they're wanting to put the small building. It looks like a large one, but it's not. It's a small one.
So basically it's building for offices.
So what?
So basically it's building for offices.
No, it's not for offices. I'm guessing it's to screen the machinery, but according to this, there's not much material that could be stored in there. So I think a lot of it's going to be stored outside of the yards. Yeah. But our concern is that our office is right here. It's gonna be really loud. It's already loud when the trucks roll by. Sometimes we'll be on the phone talking to somebody. We'll have to wait for the truck to go by and then we'll keep talking. Well, if they're crushing things and doing salvage and wrecking, that's gonna be really loud. It's gonna be very hard to do business here.
Sir, your time is up. If you want to wrap up your thought, please.
I'm done, but thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Philip or Samuel. This went to MAPC last week. Sir, what was the vote at MAPC?
It went on consent, which meant the MAPC was in favor of staff recommendation, and there was no other meeting who was there for public opposition, so there was no presentation of the staff report, and it was unanimous vote for approval. But the applicant turned down for this. Correct. The way the planning commission works is at the beginning of the meeting, the chairperson goes through each agenda item and asks if anybody on the board, once they hear it, they get the staff reports a week ahead of time. They have an opportunity to read staff's recommendation to see if they're in agreement with staff recommendation. On the board wanted to hear it, then they open it to the public and they say, does anybody in the public want to hear it? If the applicant is in agreement with staff recommendation, they don't want to have it heard. And there was no one there to speak in opposition against it, so it comes to consent.
I made some letters went out to all the businesses.
Yes, 4 acres, I believe that's a 350-foot radius.
Good question about that for those of you who are businesses here. Are you owners of the real estate where your businesses are located?
Yes.
I am not. And I received no
So
letter.
you wouldn't have gotten a letter because of we got the property owner, correct?
Right.
Correct. I have to remember, we just enacted a new notification policy and I don't quite remember if this planning commission was one of them. Where now it's the property owners as well as a letter going to the property address.
Okay.
And I can't recall off the top of my head, forgive me, because it might have been right on the bubble where this planning commission might have been one of the ones just before that started.
Okay.
To where now things coming in, we're notifying property residents as well.
Did you all, as the real estate owners, the property owners, get the letters?
We got the letter.
I did not get the letter.
Are you,
I would
you
say
said 370 feet, so you might.
350 feet, up at 37, then I might be just shy, just now.
Yeah, because I'm on the other side of the street, so.
You might have been just outside of it.
What is their protest period still open?
Yes, it's only been, they went to planning commission last Thursday, so they actually have a week and a half. So that ends on the 23rd at 5 p.m. So my protest petitions get submitted to the city clerk's office. Have to be in the office by 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 23rd, or any time before that.
Are there instructions?
We have a copy. We have a packet out there. I'll get you guys one.
Okay, and if you have questions, I'd be happy to help you guys out. We want to make sure you guys understand what your rights and abilities are as well.
And forgive me, but you did not notify because as a business owner, we received 0 notification.
We'll have to look in that. I don't have the file folder.
We just changed that to where it did just go to the real estate, and we've been talking for a while about, well, sometimes if they're out of state, they might not communicate that well or not think that it's, as.
Yeah, it used to be just property owners, now it's property owner's mailing address plus the physical property address. I can't recall off the top of my head, it literally came across this summer, where this one might have been on an application deadline that did require it, to where now we are, and I just don't remember where that line is. So it could have been this one only went out to property owners. And here on out, we're doing property owners and physical property addresses. So it's right in the middle. I apologize that we just don't know. I don't remember what that line was when it came to this case.
It's a little comfort, but this came up because renters would not get letters, but their landlords would. And that would be sometimes a conflict of interest if the landlords was the one changing the property zoning. So that is many, many people over many years believe that may have been where this happened.
So if we, 86, then I think that was going to account for the first, right?
Would it still depending on the petitions, or it would go no matter what?
So if DAB has a different recommendation, it's sent to city council. If you guys have the same recommendation, but if protest, it would go to city council. So either one of those things would send it, obviously, the protest and a different recommendation would send it to council.
Which council meeting would this be on? Because I wanted to make sure that they can do their protest period.
It would be before the protest period.
Okay.
Right, no, so it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks after the protest period ends. So we build it generally about a month between planning commission and city council.
Yeah.
Because we have a 2-week protest period, then we have 2 weeks to get onto an agenda.
Okay.
And so with it being the July 9th, we're probably looking maybe August 4th or the one after that. I don't remember.
The 11th, maybe the 14th, the 11th.
But there'd be times, but you guys can reach out, if you, I can give you my contact information, you can reach out and we can nail it down. We've got it on the schedule, I just don't remember which one it is. I apologize, it's not my case, but other ways at another DAB presenting other of his cases, so they come with those numbers to my mind, so I apologize. So.
Any more questions from the public for Philip or the? Yeah.
I have a comment. When it was very first presented, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm Margaret Shabazz. I live on 11th and Market. I was like, oh, yeah, because I know this area very well. It is very high in industrial. Coleman's over there. I used to work for Coleman, ride the bus to get there and all that. Love boxes over there, the railroad tracks. So I'm like, yes, perfect. But you guys, you specifically, you, I didn't realize the Nabiscus was over there and it's gone now. But what also is over there is the USD 259.
Food processing.
Food processing. So I wanted to come and mention that because he did bring up a very, very, very good point with the food. And knowing that that feeds our children, which is following USD 259. We probably need to reconsider this. I do know a good place for it, deeper into the railroad tracks. There's some buildings that are empty, closer to Coleman, the industrial area would be perfect for something like this. But also thinking about the area, Coke is over there as well, and Coleman's over there in that pond, and they've made that area very beautiful. It is a nice, once you get over there, it's a really nice area. So I just want to stand with my business owners as a citizen that does know the area as well and say I would stand with them in opposing it because of food. The food thing was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
The food thing was the biggest thing for me.
Thank you, Margaret. Any other questions before we bring back to the dad? Okay. Dad, we need a conversation, comments, motion.
I got a motion, so we got.
Joshua, you have a comment, didn't you?
I think it's just a comment in the form of a motion.
That works.
I would motion we reject this. First,
second.
in addition, in addition to everything that we've heard, like, look, y'all, this is real damn close to 29th and Grove, and I think they've got enough. Yeah. In addition, like, I understand staff's point about this being general industrial. Looking at just a quick map, the uses are much less intensive. You got dance company, food service, truck and machinery rental, 259 service center, Pullman Company, which is lighter manufacturing, roofing company, and lawn care company. None of that has the environmental impact that a scrapping company can have. So for those reasons, I move that we reject it. We have a second.
Any other comments or you ready to vote?
Well, I think just to add to that is, what are we saying as a community when we put a scrapyard near the,
Main Street. Yeah.
what are we saying as a community if we put a scrapyard near?
And to add that, what are we saying as a community when we just out of hand dismiss is not abutting in our Hero Expressway or freeway, and it's not abutted? Like, when do we hold the standard? That's kind of my question. So no again.
All in favor of rejection? Any yeses? Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have questions about this protest, maybe you can catch before.
Yeah, I'll be right
speak
outside.
out. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any updates, issues, or reports that anyone would like to share?
I have a question.
Yeah.
We approved and it went through, it's 1441 and 1451 North Broadway, and it's like a pull in, you got like, board space, and all that stuff, gym storage kind of thing.
The old Washington News?
No, I was just that. It's North 13.
It's got the slopes of building.
Yeah, it's gray metal. So I drove by it, I drive by there all the time. And it just occurred to me, it's like, I thought they just had landscape. Now, stupid me, I assumed that it like, it was giving like just a bunch of grass out there on the side of the road, because I don't love that we have gray metal building with a chain link fence and some unmowed grass. Like, so just what I'm saying to the dad is, and maybe it's a question for you, Maggie, like, because I did put in a report, whatever, and it seems like they've done an inspection, everything's jody-dody, which I'm like, is it? Like, I don't know that looks like landscape to me. It looks like some grass. And
I will look into it.
like,
It's native landscape.
like, yeah, maybe some bushes, or a couple trees, something that says we made an effort.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not against that, what he's doing there, because I think it's a needed space I think it serves a good purpose. But I just think sometimes when we hear landscape, it might mean something that it's not, that's all.
Yeah, that's probably just as an aside comment, I suspect that that's probably a common problem with new development is the follow-up on what happens.
We heard,
6 months or a year later.
yeah, on, was off Hoover, we heard.
Yes.
And I got a little heat for voting yes on that, so. That's why.
To piggyback on that, we've had some conversations about the water restrictions. I'm just curious how that's affected, and is there a grace period on installing some of that because of the water restrictions?
Of the landscaping? I don't believe so. We didn't, but we did, like the Starbucks that's out by, like Arcade Place. We were trying to read.
21st.
Yeah.
Their Bible stores.
All starts first, yes. They delayed that for a while, and they were like trying to have the grand opening, it's like, didn't have their sod in or anything like that. So that has all gone kind of back to normal. But there was a period, but it's a great question to make sure that there's been follow through on any of those that were delayed. So good question. I'll find out. I have a couple announcements. They should be announcing on the fire chief this week. July 25th, we have our District 6 coffee right here at Evergreen at 9 o'clock. Today was the first day that the Vanessa Bridge closed. So it is completely closed for about 4 to 5 months. It closed completely today. Prior to the school year at North, the pedestrian crosswalk will be open. And then sometime in September, it'll be opened up at least one lane each way. And then the project should be done before the end of the year. So.
Is it structural or repurposing?
Both. They're redoing a bunch of the bricks on top, some of the little structural stuff on the bottom. Some of it is decorative, and then some of the Carphalite, the colored concrete, it's not concrete, it's glass, is being replaced as well. Like one of the noses was missing on one of the Native American faces. It just needs some. It was, I keep saying born, it was built in 1932. So it's coming up on 100 years old, and in 2008 and 2009, they did a little bit of restoration work. So it's been quite a while. And it was interesting, the engineer said it was, the materials on top were stressed, as I don't think they meant for cars to be that heavy and that much traffic to. So anyways, nevertheless, super glad that it's getting taken care of. One second. We have a couple different board vacancies in District 6. If anyone is interested, I would check those out. And then Neighborhood Night Out is August the 11th. I have one more thing right now. Oh, fire chief, I did that. Okay. I think that's all. Anybody else have anything?
I was just gonna ask, do you know if they're also including like the bike path or doing anything like river remediation underneath it?
They are, there's some like erosion.
Right, because it's always like,
I already saw like today they cut a bunch of the trees, like volunteer trees that are becoming a problem. And then like you can't ride your bike down there,
right,
your bike will get stuck.
yeah,
So they're gonna be working on that too.
yeah,
So,
ankle leak.
yes.
Small community updates, sorry, I missed the vote, but excited to announce that Second Life put out an announcement this week, since the beginning of December, served 1,300 people in the building and housed 130. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else have, yes?
North Riverside neighborhood cleanup is August 8th.
Is it gonna be the same way that Midtowns was, where the trash can dumpsters are gonna be on at North High?
Well, we have a dumpster at Woodland.
Yeah, they're usually at Woodland United Methodist. Okay.
They have a dumpster there that you can bring stuff to, but then we have the area divided into 4 quadrants. Each quadrant has a backer truck,
Okay.
and we follow the people put their stuff out Friday night before. We just cover the whole quadrants, and we follow the trucks. We throw stuff in the trucks, usually done by noon.
Yes.
Primary election, August 4th. You can vote in some of the statewide ballot questions, even if you are unaffiliated. So voter registration, I think you need to be registered by Wednesday, 15th is the deadline.
July
I would also
4th.
say, I just,
Tomorrow.
without
Yeah,
that,
tomorrow.
the election, I do poll work too, so election office is also looking still for maybe 50 or 60 poll workers. And you still have time to get certified and trained on that. Then you get paid a little bit. It's a long day. It's mad fun. You can bring a book. Slow elections, I've read 2 books. Busy elections, I've read no books. But it's really cool. If you have any questions or skepticism about the integrity of our local elections, I highly recommend participating on that level, because you'll see it's like really impressive logistical.
Yes, our election office moved.
Yeah, they did movie get seen in an election. It is.
Farthest east you can possibly
Yeah.
go.
Farther east.
I'm just teasing.
Fortunately, non-affiliated, so like if you're independent, you don't have to cite to be Republican or Democrat, you can still vote.
So there's 3 ballots. It's a closed primary, so if you want to vote in a party primary, you must be registered as that party. But unaffiliated are the only people that can declare on election day a party. So if you're unaffiliated, then you can say, I want to be a Democrat, but then you'd be registered as a Democrat, or you'd be registered as Republican on that day. The deadline for switching your registration is passed. So if you are affiliated with any of the 4 parties in Kansas that are recognized, then that's what you're voting for. So if you're unaffiliated and you don't want to switch, you get a vote on the amendment.
Yes.
And that's it. Everybody else, if you have a party, if you have Democratic or Republican Party affiliation, you'll vote for either those ballots, Libertarian or the other one. It's not
The one
political.
that's got, is it,
The communist not his final.
No labels got expanded. So there's the Libertarian and somebody else. Anyways, they don't have the primary. So they'll also only vote for the.
But you can still vote for the amendments and not sign up for one party or the other, which you should do. It's an important amendment.
Thank you. I kind of don't understand those, so when the questions come up, I kind of want to understand better. Yeah.
Well, then help you have a goal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you don't understand, show up to vote and you'll learn something about it. All right, we'll help you do that.
Thank you.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Perfect.